We have this amazing group of creators and entrepreneurs who are going to talk about what you do to get great shots in the studio, great shots in the field, how you do and pick and give it and get your best shot. So without any further ado, our moderator today is Travis Keys, who's a photographer and filmmaker at Travis W. Keys Photography. He's joined by Nick Mattingly, who's the CEO of Switcher, all about doing live, Kim Calabrese, a content creator, and Rene Amador from co-founder and CEO of ARwall is late, so we're going to leave a little chair for him. When he shows up, I want you all to applaud because he might have been out late last night, okay? All right. But anyway, Travis, give it up for Travis, Jenny, and Rene, and tell us about how to get your best shot.
All right. Hey, guys. This is really exciting. Thanks for joining us. I am a filmmaker, a photographer, a content creator, and I think one of the reasons we're all here today is we all have a story to tell, and we're all unique in that way. And I want to talk about, scaling, and we've never lived in, I think, a more exciting time. I think it's like the renaissance of creativity. What used to take us, helicopters and tracks and, steady cams now all fit in a backpack. And how do we compose, make sure that we're authentic stories and really doing what it takes to make us stand out from everybody else? Because you know what? You may shoot the same thing I am. I'll give you the exact recipe, but you're going to add a little cinnamon. You're going to add a little nutmeg. So we're going to hit here today is like all tools don't work for all people. So we're going to talk about what we use and how we kind of have used different mediums, AI, what we use in our backpacks from small travel to kind of running to amazing places where we use bigger, scalable, have to use more lights and video, stuff like that. So first off, hello, panel.
Hello.
It's
Great to be here.
I want to thank you for joining us. And you guys are amazing, and you do such different things and bring such different skills to it. So I want you to tell us a little about what you're doing right now and how you kind of run and gun it and what you do and scalable. And when you're out there, what is the quickest way to find that best shot and compose? What are you looking for?
So, hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. I'm a lifestyle tech content creator. So I review products I just shoot like a vlog style to show everyday lifestyle and all that sort. So my life and my content is so different every time I shoot. So half of the time it's in the studio where everything's set up perfectly. And other half of the time I'm on the go with so many portable gears. And I'm like very team, small gear where everything fits in this bag. It's really heavy, but it fits everything from like, Pocket 3 to like action camera to cell phone, like multiple gears. And I think when I'm shooting a shot, I'm looking for like it's a good background. It's not distracting, right? If it's a product, then it has to highlight that in terms of colors and everything like that. So that's what I look for.
To follow up on that, when you walk into a situation like this, a lot of this, you'll look around, the lighting is terrible. The background can be distracting. It can be noisy. How do you deal with a problem like that when in a situation like this?
I think I have two things, but especially when it comes to sound is very important. Always have a portable mic. So it's like much more closer to my sound, and editing obviously will help with denoising the other sounds. And when it comes to lighting, I carry my own light. Always brightens. And sometimes if it's things like subtle texture, if you have extra light and it's bright and you could control the hue or the saturation of it, the warm and the cool, then it completely changes the scene. It's unbelievable.
I totally agree. Light is the way, that's the canvas we get to play with and paint on. Nick, you're doing some amazing stuff. Why don't you tell me about some of the stuff you're doing and what you bring to the game of like the content creator and the amazing, and let's talk about content creators because I want to there used to be influencers and that kind of got a bad moniker, but now there's the content creator. And I think, as whether you're a filmmaker or a photographer or, a storyteller or content creator, it is so important now to kind of put yourself in that realm because brands are taking it extremely seriously. They're looking for that authentic voice, the place that they can't connect with. And basically you're the storytellers that they can't, like Nike's like, we can't get into that crowd. You're the ones, they're that access point. It's so important. How do you help the content creator and what are you doing?
So with Switcher, we have a mobile app for iPhone and iPad where you can edit while you shoot. We were one of the first solutions where you could do multicam using other iPhones and iPads to get a different angle or perspective. We also make it very easy to multi-stream and have that across all your social channels. So whether that's Facebook, YouTube Live, your website, and we've expanded the platform to allow you to do things like make your website look like Netflix, sell tickets and subscriptions, and monetize your content as well. And so when we look at how people are using our platform, over 2 million videos have been made with Switcher. A lot of it is something where that different angle or perspective adds dynamic to it. It's not just the talking head. It's not just the selfie shot. You could imagine not just filming the action, whether that's a basketball game or your podcast or talk show, or even an unboxing, but having a behind the scenes shot, like showing your gear and your setup. That shows what goes into your production. Those can be things that really, bring the audience in, and sometimes are a little unexpected. Having, depth or distance between the subject and the background could be one way to, kind of deal with the environment that you're in and still make something that's interesting. And for a show like CES, maybe you're not on camera, saying all the things that are going to be in the finished video at the show. Lean into B-roll. Get shots of people, the gear, even with one device, doing a couple of bursts from different angles and perspectives to emulate multicam when you're not actually using multiple devices. There's a lot of fun tricks you can do there. One I love, is putting your camera in slow-mo and then using that to emulate a Steadicam shot. So even without having, like an Osmo or hardware where you're getting the Steadicam shot, just changing the frame rate on your camera allows you to do some fun things in post that make it feel a lot more smooth.
It's funny because we're here talking about, being creators and kind of, I think it's so important. How do we stand out? How do we make ourselves different? How do we make that shot that's going to, you really develop your own story, your own language. And it's so important that we bring that your subject and you're having that conversation, whether it's, a product or whether it's a person, they're telling these stories. What is it that you kind of focusing on in your interaction with whatever you're talking, whether it's a product or whether it's a person? What kind of stuff do you bring to that to change that dynamic and really bring your voice through and also connect with your subject?
Good question. I think, for the most part of like tech products or even lifestyle products, there's so many cool products out there, and it's a little, like too much tech jargon or too much specs for a lot of people. So I try to break it down to layman term as possible and make it relatable content where it feels like I'm telling my best friend's actually here. And it's like, that's like my target. I'm telling my best friend and like, hey, this is what I am using. Okay. This is how I do it. And then that's the style. And then I also focus on something that, which what we call hook, and like a fun way. Yay!
Yay!
We're complete now.
Look at that.
Thank you so much.
I'm loving the vibe.
I would say one thing. You have a good excuse. You came, well, you walked away this time with a 2-year run on stuff. If you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for being late, everyone. I have a very good excuse. We were very late last night. We won AI Product of the Year 2 years in a row.
And we're going to go into AI in just a moment, but you want to finish up what you were saying?
Oh, yes. So pretty much, the hook is very important. It's first 3 seconds of your video, and you have to say something crazy so no one just flips up. And that's usually what I really try to focus on. And I try to throw something crazy. Like this is what a Withings watch I'm wearing. And Withings is, really aesthetically beautiful, but it's a smartwatch. And I'm like, if like Rolex had a smartwatch, this would be it. And that gets attention. It's like, whoa, Rolex style smartwatch, and Rolex will never make smartwatch because they claim that too. So things like that actually gets a lot of attention.
I want to talk about like, everybody's like, oh, what gear are you using? What is like, and I don't want people to focus on like, oh, he uses this one Pocket 3, which I seem we're all kind of using nowadays. It's incredible. But Nick, what are some of the like things that you find are really incredible to, if you want to be portable, whether it be software, whether it be gadgets, whether it be lighting or cameras, what is some of the stuff unscalable? So if I wanted to be at an event like this and be like, put it on my backpack or to a studio, do you have ideas or stuff that you use that kind of exciting?
I think we take for granted how great our phones are. I mean, these are professional cameras in everyone's pocket. If you're shooting with your phone using the rear facing camera versus the front facing camera, you're going to get better quality. Depending on what you're shooting, you're going to be more inclined to use one versus the other. it's really hard to not do video of yourself and not want to use that selfie cam. But if you think about putting that on a tripod and framing it up and then stepping back, we got one right here in the crowd, and standing in front of that rear facing camera, you're going to get a lot better quality. Playing with the settings on your camera, going into the settings to enable HDR, or to enable 4K if you want to have that flexibility in post-production. Know that that's going to use more storage. I don't think everything has to be shot in 4K. Most people are watching on their phones. And so, we're getting 720p video all the time, no matter where you are. That said, if you're doing something where the subject or content's really far away and you can't get right up on it, using a camera with a zoom lens where you can get in on the action is going to be really important. I think in a lot of cases, we are used to putting the cameras on the fringes, where the cameras are supposed to be, out of the way, because it's for the people in the room. Bring your camera right up here on stage. I don't care. It's not in anybody's way. Put it where you're going to get the best shot. It's not a distraction. If you got a big honking piece of gear, maybe, but get creative and get close to the subject. Make sure your framing is good. Leave a little bit of buffer. If it's something where they're not static and they're going to be moving around, that you've got some room to play. Even in Switcher, we have an option called EPTZ. So you could have a really wide shot and you can crop in on the subject and move around inside of that frame without ever physically moving the camera. You can control, what's going to be shown inside of that. And so there's some really interesting things you can do in software that we're just now starting to see some of those make their way into cameras and hardware. But typically, like, cameras, a lens, it's a fixed shot, and everything happens in post. And there's some really interesting things happening where a lot of the things we used to do in post are kind of shifting toward that pre-production phase. And when you think about how we plan for content, how we storyboard, how we think about titles and descriptions, even some of the things that are happening with ARwall and these different solutions, where a lot of that would be done with like green screen and editing in post. You're able to move a lot of that into while the camera's rolling. And I think that opens up some really interesting things around creativity. You think about like if anybody's a Disney or Star Wars fan, like Mandalorian, they've got the helmet. There's a ton of reflection. They're not using green screen. Like, they have video walls that have actual 3D rendered environments. Like, the reflections you see on the stuff they're wearing is real. And it is imperceivable when you're watching it.
I think one of the things you brought up is, that your cell phone, it's such an important piece. And as we're creators, you don't want to be like, if you just say, oh, I'm a photographer. Oh, that's great. They'll move on. You need to use your phone and you need to use your content that you're doing to create a connection with the people you want to talk with. It's a brand and a branding, which are two separate things. Branding's your logos and stuff like that, but your brand is what people feel about you and talk about you when you're not there, and it's that feeling. So you want to connect with these cell phones, these behind-the-scenes footage that really connect with an audience. You don't want to, everybody's like so worried, I want to connect with everybody in the world. But if you get 1%, that's more than most people will ever have in a lifetime. So go after your crowd and stuff like that. So what is it we're using in tools like that when in the background? Because I'll use my cell phone to use, just record stuff, BTS, little clips, and I'll edit that together. And I kind of automate stuff that I've gotten to this place where I know I can pump out videos really quickly and get so. Are you using, obviously you're using great software, but how are you using certain tools today to kind of help automate things faster and really authentically put a message that I am this person and storyteller?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I mean, me personally, so I run a software company, so I'm a big fan of all sorts of different, software, not that I'll talk about that. I mean, right now, the interoperability between all the Adobe, stuff is really amazing to me. Like, you can go from After Effects to Premiere to Photoshop and back and forth. My background is actually as a, graphic designer in Photoshop. So I'm a Photoshop heavy. So if I can get anything, into that workflow, which After Effects is pretty, similar to, then I'm going to be, really happy. The work that we do, at my company is more about, capturing, a great shot and then allowing you to augment that with either with additional effects, music, or audio. We've been really focused on this specific problem of, like, I'm a solo filmmaker. I have an amazing vision, this really ambitious vision of something spectacular, that's much more than I can do with my, living room and my, like, shooting around in my neighborhood and stuff. And giving those people all the tools that would normally be associated with a big Hollywood lab, like, virtual backdrops and, augmented reality effects, real-time effects, and then automated, creation of, music and audio, which is also supported, by our tool. So when you take all that stuff and dump it into your, timeline, that to me is like a 1-2 punch of getting this all done. Like, so much effort has gone into the post-production process and how to make that more efficient. But we're still in this weird world where, there's this gigantic gap between, like what what a solo filmmaker can do and what, for example, like Jon Favreau or someone could do at the highest level. I'm most excited about the tools that are smashing those to dropping that gap down. So in editorial, that's kind of been done. What we're doing is focusing on, production. Some of the amazing, teams that we work with are, Sony. They've got some amazing, prosumer, kind of devices that work really well for virtual production for quite a number of reasons. Just the way that the sensor is, processed. It reduces the, artifacting associated with virtual production. It's great for, capturing, what we might call a progressive frame, just a nice, single exposure frame, all exposed at the same time. Beautiful, no jello, no warping, no distortion, anything like that. So that type of stuff is extremely important, as for getting really, high quality. But ultimately, the message that I'm hoping to get across is that if you have that vision right now here in 2025 is a moment where you can, try and achieve that. And technical providers and software providers like me, are now the folks that are helping filmmakers do that. And we have filmmakers that we work with where we speak to them almost daily, at this point and trying to address the concerns that they have, for their specific projects. So we're becoming a huge amount of the collaboration.
I think it's one of the most exciting things, and especially in today's, like, if you're a solo content creator or if you're working with a team, the scalability of tools that are your access now is incredible. What are some of the tools you're using, in your daily, that to make kind of speed up your workflow and get to that finished? Because there's one thing taking a picture and you can craft everything and do the light, but I think it's the polish that really is that, that special sauce that it makes it authentically yours. What are you kind of doing in your special sauce or your daily use to streamline?
I use my husband. Just kidding. My husband's also a content creator, so it actually helps because he has that eye for it. And so like right now he's recording for me, which is very sweet. But when I have to, like sometimes we both have projects and we are both busy, then obviously we can't help each other. Then what I rely on is like a lot of AI. And like, I think when I'm shooting, it only takes like half or like 1/3 of the time of editing. And editing is a lot, right? Like we spend so much time on making it, like even if it's a normal, like everyday thing, you want to make it pop. So you might want to like adjust the zooming in or graphics or make it fun. Every 2 seconds or so should be a hook, right? So like hook. So like you're putting so much in. And when you're trying to do solo filming, it's like, okay, I have to leave this much space here so that I could do all this here. Okay, I have to zoom out this much. Like that's how we film. And even that takes not that long because you're already calculating that before. But editing is like a lot. So I rely a lot on like things. If it's like caption, auto caption, the best. ChatGPT like just changed a lot of things for me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I'm supposed to say the names, but
yeah.
Give it your best shot.
Between CapCut and ChatGPT kind of saves a lot of things. And if you guys have a like Instagram bio, I want you to do yourself a favor, screenshot that and just crop that part and put it in ChatGPT and just say, can you write the best bio for me? If you do that, it will shoot out like 5 style. And then you could say, okay, can you create content ideas for me? So even before you start, you do that. And then editing too, you could also have, if you have a script, you could put it in and say, hey, can you write a caption that's relatable and hashtags with it? And I did this as like, test. And recently I put in this, literally put it this way. I put, please write a caption with SEO keywords in mind. And I did that with one of the videos I made at MWC. And if you go on images, my video is the first one. And it's like, whoa,
Yeah. I think what's so amazing is now people are saying, oh, aren't you afraid that AI is going to steal your jobs and like that? It's like, no, I'm afraid that the people that aren't using it are going to lose their jobs. It's such an incredible thing. And AI now has this moniker of like, oh my God, it's creating everything for us. It's, this the wild, wild west. We're not sure where it's going. It's so kind of amazing, or not amazing and scary. But I think if you understand it and are transparent about it and use it, it's one of the best tools. Because I certainly use, one of the examples, I'm part of Adobe and a creator there. I will actually take a photo that is a portrait photo and use the full sensor. And then in my head, it's like, all right, I'm going to, like in the movies, I grew up loving films. It was all about, green screens and backdrop paintings. I will actually expand it with Jennifer Expand and create an image that never was quite there with the lens that didn't. How are you using AI and how are you excited about, this wild, wild west of this new frontier of AI? What are some of the tools and what you're excited about? Nick,
I've done a lot of experimenting the last year. It's like with Switcher, we aren't necessarily building the technology or innovating with AI in the product that we offer. But I'm really paying attention to everything that's happening around us to make sure we've got a hand on where things are going and what are the workflows where we can suggest and recommend how to use them together in a complementary way. And are there things that are just going to become expected of us? And so that, Opus Clip is one of the sponsors here. If you've got long form content, it's a 10-minute video, an hour or 3-hour long video, you could use something like Opus Clip and it's going to recommend short snippets that you could share on social, and it's going to automate how you can share that out. It's a really, really incredible tool. Go check them out. There are tools like LTX Studio that help with storyboarding. So if you have an idea or proof of concept, it can help you with what are some of the major themes or scenes, what are some of the types of shots that you might get, and providing a range of options to choose from or tweak. And you're ultimately going to end up still shooting it, but it's taking a lot of this work that you're supposed to do in pre-production and people end up just not doing it because it's a lot of work. And it can actually help you have a lot better end result if you're taking those steps. And so I think taking something that is highly prized when you think about high profile content and the things we consume when we go to the theaters, and like making that just way more accessible for anyone and everyone to do is really great. There's tools like HeyGen where you can record like a 3-minute sample of you reading gibberish, and then you can type in a box and it looks like you, it sounds like you saying the thing, and you never have to turn a camera on again. And it's not one for one, like you can tell, but for certain types of content, like that's an incredible unlock. Imagine doing almost like an ad lib version of that where you want to do a personalized video for everyone on your mailing list. So you've got a kind of generic script, but you're going to insert each person's name just by typing it in a box, or change one part of that video that they're going to see. It's going to feel really personalized to them, and you're not making 1,000 videos. You're recording it once, and you're using some metadata, and you're sending it out to your mailing list. Like, sales teams are going crazy with this.
When you say you can't be at 2 places at once, you can.
And then you see a lot of things that have made their way into like how we do Zoom calls or Google Meets, and just being able to replace the background without having a green screen. Like that's become normal, like table stakes. Like what? That's crazy. So there's a lot of really cool things that are just becoming a natural part of how we work. Things that are improving the quality of our audio and removing background sound just automatically. You think about, you've recorded a video and now, so I started a podcast last year, Vidify XYZ. And one of the hardest things, like I've been doing video for 10 years. We built products for tens of thousands of other people to make content. Like the fact that I hadn't done my own podcast until now was kind of crazy to myself. And like one of the hardest parts was like, what the hell am I going to call this thing? What's the title? What's the thumbnail? Now I have to write a description for this thing, and you're being able to use tools like ChatGPT to like brainstorm, or take something that was maybe more long form and condense it, or put it in different styles, or even just taking the transcript from the thing that I said. This is another one. I think we're just gonna, it was status quo. Every video we make, it used to be that it was only the title and description that made it searchable. Like that was how people found you. And so like doing this kind of work's really important. Now every video you make, every word that you say is automatically being transcribed and is available on that video. And so anything and everything that you say is indexable. So being able to take the full transcript from a video that you made and say, suggest a description, suggest a title. It might not be perfect. It might not be the one that you run with, but like it gives you that spark to do something that is relevant, and going to perform.
And what's crazy is now that the tools are getting so good that you get not only were you talking about captions, but now that I can actually record something and suddenly I can go into AI and stuff like that. And now I'm speaking Spanish or German and it's moving my lips and using my voice in the same way. So now I'm expanding my audience out to some like never would have had before. How are you interested in playing with AI? And I know certainly we had talked about you brought up Star Wars and Mandalorian and the on a large scale, when an actor can work on a set and actually see, interact, and not have like a tennis ball on the back of a stick and that's your dragon, but to actually see things now. You're dealing with a lot of stuff in AI and software. Like how do you see that the trends and how that's scaling down to someone that maybe doesn't have that budget, but want to use those kind of tools and what's out there for them?
It's pretty wild right now. I spent last year we won AI Product of the Year, and I did so without actually knowing that much about AI products. That's something I'm admitting. I had used a few and, I had been doing it since about 2014, way back then. And, but I didn't know the business side of it, right? Is really what I'm saying. So I came in and I spent the past year using hundreds of, different AI tools, AI models, AI products. LTX is definitely something everyone should be looking into. That team is amazing. Opus Clip, I think, also is, there's this new thing right now happening where they call them clippers. I'm going to go on a little tangent here for a second. Just bear with me. So, a few years ago, there was in the Manosphere, the Manosphere podcasting world, there's this idea where you would create long form content for part of your courses and stuff. Like you would have people, sign up for courses and training and online classes and that type of stuff. And so you'd have long form content that would be behind a paywall. So 45 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours of content. So then what they would do was they would get 15, 25, 100 guys in developing countries, and they'd say, hey, make a new account on TikTok, whatever, and cut up my long form content into stuff that's going to be juicy for your friends. Juicy for your audience. They want to talk about dating? Okay, you're going to cut up all my dating stuff. You're going to make 80 little dating short clips. That used to be a big pain in the butt to manage that. That used to be the main job of those course companies. Now you can do that with Opus Clip. I mean,
it's insane.
That's freaking crazy, right?
Absolutely.
So it's gonna figure out what's the audience that I'm going after, what's the subject matter that I'm going after, everything like that. So why is this important? If you have any type of digital business, you can create long form content and then use this clippers strategy to then drive promotion for free. I mean, this is free promotion with the cost only of the tool. I think that's pretty freaking amazing. It has been so odd, this phenomenon, that I believe this is what's actually behind the Minecraft movie success. I'm seeing that there's a huge amount of people, I think assisted by the marketing team of the film, who are using trends in short form video to drive ticket sales to the Minecraft movie. So that strategy that started off in the gray web 10 years ago now has become the main strategy for Warner Brothers. That's freaking crazy. So
it's insane, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is now, that's something that we should all be thinking. So that's the first one. Second, there's so many generative AI models now that I have begun to value the tools that allow me to organize them, and allow me to keep, save the ones that I like. One of the ones that's really good is Night Cafe.
Night Cafe.
Is that?
Because what
okay.
you're gonna,
Night Cafe.
What are the top three? Because what I'm gonna do is
yeah. Okay.
I hate that this is only a half-hour session because I want to sit here, continue asking every single one of you questions, but I want to have time for you guys to ask some questions because I think it's really important for you guys to get through that. What are the top three?
Okay. If you're a graphic designer, Night Cafe, go check it out. It's every image generator on the market right now is on Night Cafe. The second that I would highly recommend is Replicate. If you're more of a developer type, Replicate is going to be amazing. And it has a lot of emerging models that are just going from being research level to being available on the market. That shift that happens is happening on Replicate, and LTX is on there. It's amazing.
Very cool. Let's anyone have a question from the audience? We have our wonderful Jim who's going to walk around with a mic and
I will be running mic if you have questions. This is an amazingly interesting panel.
And please,
a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
These are experts. If you've got a question, please raise your hand. If not, I'm just going to let them keep going for a couple more minutes.
The main thing is what's amazing is community. And I think it's so important about community that we get able to ask questions of each other.
Totally. We have a question right here.
3-minute videos or 10-minute videos?
What are you thinking? You're a content creator.
Well, for 3 minutes is the maximum for short form. And then 10 minutes is usually a good time for long form. So that's my answer. But usually, according to data, for short form usually does well if it's 60 to 90 seconds. No one watches after that.
So on average, when you're putting up stuff, what's the percentage of 3-minute videos you're putting out and what's the percentage of 10 minutes?
I do a lot more short form.
Okay.
And it used to be like 30 to 45 seconds. But I've noticed that if you want to add a lot of details, 60 to 90 is the sweet spot. Especially 90, you cover everything.
I think it depends on the format as well. The podcast, 20 minutes is probably kind of the sweet spot, talk show kind of format. If you're leaning into shorts or TikTok or reels, again, that's 60 to 90 seconds, but we have seen that, length of video start to rise. That can be really good if you're trying to grow an audience. And so it might be that that's not your core content type, but that could be snippets of your longer form content. So I don't know that it's necessarily like there's a certain length. It depends on what's the content, who's it for, what platforms are you using. In a lot of cases, it's kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
What? Okay, here.
So would you create a 10-minute video and then you use the AI to give you the snippets to create the 3 minutes, and then that way you've got both covered?
For me, no, not all the time. Because I've noticed that when AI cuts, it's not always exactly the hook you want. So if you're particular about the hook and how it's made and the lighting and everything, like zooming in this much versus that much, the lighting, the hook, everything changes. So I've tried it. There are times where if it's like a topic that you want like series, Opus Clip is the best. And for Opus Clip, you could literally put now like the latest one I've done is like you could cut a certain time and you could say focus on this. Yeah. So that's really cool for it. But otherwise, I generally like to create completely separately.
Another question right here. Go ahead.
Are you editing for the algorithms? And then do you have an average length of time for editing that you tell yourself to do? Like half hour max to edit? That
never happens for creative people, I think. I think we try, but sometimes we are on a time crunch. So it's like, I have to do this today, but I learned to let go. And I'm like, if I can't do this all today, I'll be okay. I'll just tell myself I need to go to bed at a certain time. I need a family time, But I think overall, I think for the algorithm part, I think hook is what I'm really focused on and the CTA, the call to action. But the storyline is not just about algorithm. It's all about connecting with your audience, and you have to make sure that your audience understands what you're saying instead of algorithm understands what you're saying. So that's what
I think, we are so badly inclined to do what the data tells us and what the algorithm wants. That gets indexed for a lot, like what's going to feed the machine and what's going to get me views, because it's the algorithm's job to put this. It's not to get me more views. It's to get my viewers the content that they're interested in. And so sometimes I think we lose the heart of this. Like as creatives, how long is it going to take? You're never done. You're going to choose when to stop. And you need to make sure that the stories you're telling, the content you're putting out there are for your audience and the people that you want to build that connection and audience with. You're always going to have this pool of like, what's the algorithm want? What's going to help this perform better? You got to take that into consideration. But if that's the only thing you're indexing for, like you're losing that human touch.
I would say definitely important to stay on brand and messaging, and consistency of content, and your storytelling is a lot more important. Everyone's going to say, oh, the algorithm does this. The truth is nobody knows. It's always different.
It'll be different in 6 months.
Don't chase. Be authentic and go after, your true self telling your stories. It's more important.
Great advice. We have another question back over here.
Hi. So, I have a question about reusing content on multiple platforms. So I have a decent following on YouTube. And I'm trying to expand to like Instagram and TikTok. Some of the partners I want to work with, I see like those avenues more. Do you guys generally try to use the same content? Because like I've tried reusing like my shorts from YouTube, and they'll do great on YouTube, and then I put it on Instagram and it gets like 100 views. So do you find that you make specific content for each channel, or do you try to use it over?
I guess that's the main question for me. So honestly speaking, to be really honest with you, I tried using different, and I have user experience research background, so I'm always researching. And based on my research, what works is that you use to save time to just make your life a little simple. You can use the same content, but if you change your caption, it has different effect. So, for example, YouTube Shorts has a 100 character limit, so make sure that it's a popping 100 character. If you put hashtag, put only 2, right? For TikTok, it's recommended for 2 to 5. And if you have more longer, it doesn't catch on as much. And I noticed that for Instagram, the longer caption you have, it helps a lot. So depending on, I think that's my strategy for captions. And that's all, because like otherwise you have to do so much. And also first 3 seconds of the video, if you put what you could summarize your video on, that also helps you with your algorithm, SEOs, all that.
This is a really interesting question, because I think there is this pressure to be everywhere or to be on multiple platforms. It's okay to pick one. If you're a gamer, be on Twitch. You don't have to be everywhere. And I think too, when we talk about the algorithm, like the platforms are doing things that make it hard to be on other platforms. For a long time, the length of a short on YouTube to be eligible for monetization was completely different than TikTok. And so like if you had a video that's over 60 seconds, it cannot be monetized on YouTube, even though it could be on YouTube and TikTok. So there is value in making content that's tailored to specific platforms that are just completely different and not rolled up in this idea of repurposing. I don't think it's a bad strategy to take the content you're already doing and do some light work so that you can share it in more places. But don't feel like you have to be everywhere. I think that's something we all get sucked into, and it can be more trouble than it's worth.
I think that's such an important question. Answer that you gave is you can't be everywhere, and pick the things. Like when I put something on Instagram, the squares are where I'm going to really kind of focus on a photo, the reels and stories I'm going to use to connect with people. But I may do an interview with you for 10 minutes, and I'll do something cool and flashy as a story and put a link to the interview. So I have this something, but everything's recognizable as my brand. It's not completely different. I'm not doing something like, wait, he's doing this on Instagram and this, like I want it recognizable. It can be different stories in different ways, but also different ways of connecting. So use each one for its strengths.
I know we're going really deep on this one. I want to give one real life example that played out in our business for our customers. We have so many people that are used to live streaming on Facebook and YouTube and their website.
Think we got time for one more?
Yep, right over here.
In the last year, Facebook has made a change where they will only archive your live video for 30 days and it's no longer fun. And so where the majority of our customers were primarily on Facebook Live for where they send their video and then kind of doing YouTube as a second measure, we're seeing more and more people choose to go on YouTube because they know they're going to have the archive and that the history of their videos are going to be there. We can't control what these platforms do. What works today might not work tomorrow.
All right. Now we have one more question over here. Go ahead. Thanks.
So how do you guys balance trying new formats and just replicating what is working?
I like to try something new every quarter. That's kind of my cadence. So every 3 months, we'll try something different. This quarter, we, began a webinar. So, we're doing a monthly webinar and, using that as a form of content. It's been going really well. And our next webinar is tomorrow. If you want to come check it out, go to our website, sign up. Thanks.
I think because I do a lot of content each month, so I think end of the month is kind of my roundabout, but I'm always researching. So it's like, each week is a different research versus monthly research. So monthly research would be more like a report to myself and then look through. And then each week is more specific research of like, what type of content do I want to do, or how should I do this, that sort. If I want to completely change it up, I think I do like quarterly and see like, is this style working, or is this what they want to like hear or talk about? So that sort.
I think changing your cadence, and doing that for like a 30, 60-day period is an interesting way to try something new and see what's on the other side. And so it can be really easy to fall into like, I'm going to record everything in 1 or 2 days and then trickle out a video, once a week for the next month. Or I'm going to make a video every single week and just like it's on a schedule. I have a day and time that I'm going to do it. For something like TikTok, it doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers. Not every person's going to see that when you make a new video. Every video is its own test. And so just kind of breaking your own rhythm and trying something new, you can be a lot more experimental in the types of videos you create and really start to see what happens when I did this or that.
I'm going to add one last thing to that. And I want to challenge all of you to this. When we started out, whether it was 5, 10 years ago, you took that picture. Imagine today going back with your new skills, because we're always trying to improve and there's new technology and stuff like that. Go back to some of your old stuff and apply your new skills. You'd be amazed of like, wow, that picture was terrible. And you're going to create amazing new content, even with old stuff. And you can share that because it really kind of go back and revisit and always update, because you always have new skills. We're always learning.
Great tips. Awesome insight. You guys give it up for Travis, Rene, Jenny, and Nick.